Hello, hats kind of knows I have a feather in my hat.
Making videos happily on Nerdfighteria Island. On Nerdfighteria Island.
1984. 1984! This is my copy of 1984, which is also Animal Farm. 2 books in one, hooray! I just find this to be quite different. I don't know how it's different. It's hard to describe. But I think with like more modern dystopia, it feels like a completely different world. Like Panem, for example, I never associate with being North America, whereas with 1984 it feels like it could happen because it's set in England, which is obviously where I'm from, and the description of the proles is like our society can be now. I've been to places that are like the places that the proles are in, and in vintage antique shops like the one in the book, and that's just really interesting and kind of scary. Questions that I was asking myself when reading the section on War is Peace. If you don't know what I'm on about, basically there's a book written by a guy called Goldstein called The Brotherhood, and it's just kind of explaining why the whole society that they're living in is completely wrong. But I asked myself, what is good about being diverse and different, and what's so bad about not advancing? Because basically the section on War is Peace explains that the 3 places, Oceania, East Asia and Eurasia, are always at war with each other, and that's because it keeps supplies like very limited, so people have the bare minimum and they can't ask for any more, so it keeps them under control, and there's no like technological advances. They're kept in a very tight time frame, and like Dave said, they keep on changing the past to control the future and the present. But this society then is very peaceful. Nobody's really suffering in any way. They're ignorant. And I don't know, I couldn't decide whether it was such an evil thing, which is a really controversial thing. And it's quite weird for me to think of that, because I think ignorance is awful. I don't think anyone should be ignorant to anything. We should always know about things most of the time and have open minds. And it was just really difficult. This book made me think so much, and that's one reason why I really enjoy it. It challenges me to ask these questions. What's so bad about not advancing? Because it says in the book that the quality of life is improving all the time, and obviously technological advances do help improve our lives most of the time. Sometimes they don't, but most of the time they do. But if the quality of life is fine in this world without having technology advance, then I don't know if it's bad. It's just because no one's suffering. No one's kind of, as far as we are told, no one's like starving and dying, and everyone's got a home and a job and money and time, even if they are under surveillance, but they deserve privacy. It's just a really hard thing to cope with. But that was when I was reading part 2. When I got to part 3 with the torturing, I kind of changed my mind, like, yeah, this is bad, but I don't know if it's bad, this party. I don't, because everyone's happy, but then again, I'm changing my mind again. It's just such a thought-provoking book. I'm sorry. Then when Winston asks, why are you so bothered about power, and they actually know, O'Brien asks Winston along the lines of, why do you think we want to stay in power? And then Winston's like, for the greater good. And then they're like, no, because we want power for the sake of having power. And then I think, actually, yeah, we shouldn't have this party. They're not actually caring about anyone. They just want power for the sake of it. So they are bad, ultimately. But sometimes they're not. I can understand if you found it boring, because the language is very different to a lot of the modern dystopia or any YA fiction. Like, take John Green, for example. His writing style is very, like, kind of, it's very witty, the quotes. He's the most quotable man in the world, come on. But with 1984, it felt more straightforward. I don't know if that's the best way of describing it, but I definitely had a feel for a very different style, and I understand why people can find that not as engaging as something else like John Green or Maureen Johnson even. But I think if you have patience with it, then you can really get into this book, and it poses a lot of different themes and questions that are very interesting. Okay, I'm going to stop now, the FTBA, and I'll see the rest of Heptagon next week. And welcome, Andy! I enjoyed your video. Good.